As many of you are aware, last year we introduced a carbon pricing bill in the Environment Committee. Although it didn't make it out of committee, the public hearing was effective in raising awareness of the concept and educating legislators and the public on how such a program would work. I was very pleased that both sides of the aisle asked questions, and I think that we've sort of raised the level of understanding that a carbon pricing program is something that we can continue to talk about. Today we're back. We're hoping that the Environment Committee will take up the legislation again, partially because we've grown in context. We are now part of a 9-state coalition, of which a number of we legislators are participating. Many of these are from northeastern states, though not exclusively, and we're all dedicated to the same basic concept of bringing a market-based approach to capturing the real costs of carbon emissions and promoting alternative energy initiatives. Now, New England already has experience and success with a cap-and-trade model intended to reduce greenhouse gases. We all know it as RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Since 2009, it's reduced emissions from major power plants by 40%. It has also created jobs, and has also had a great impact on the health and the environment. Our carbon pricing initiative, such as we're describing, would seek to be a complement to that program by focusing on other carbon emitters. And various forms of carbon pricing programs have been implemented successfully in Europe and in Canada. Why is this so important? Beyond the obvious environmental impacts of carbon emissions, there are many studies indicating the large health impacts of carbon pollution. About 2.5 million children and 8.3 million adults with asthma live in counties in the United States which were rated worst in terms of pollution. Right here in Connecticut, Hartford has one of the highest asthma rates in the nation, and certainly highest in the state. Such pollution correlates to hospitalizations for respiratory and cardiovascular complications. But there are also positives we want to emphasize in instituting a carbon pricing program. There are data indicating significant increases in state domestic product and the addition of many new jobs. How will we implement this plan? Well, Connecticut can't and won't do it alone. The New Carbon Cost Coalition hopes to pass similar carbon pricing legislation in as many as 9 states, just for starters. And many of those are contiguous to Connecticut, so we could create a geographical critical mass necessary to make this a viable program. Very similar to what we've done with RGGI. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. As I've said, carbon pricing is a market-driven solution previously supported by conservative economists as the most appropriate way to price the costs of carbon. We legislators are open to discussing different ways to charge for carbon and distribute the proceeds back to consumers. We want and expect the business community to be our partners in combating carbon pollution through investments in new technology and production processes, as many corporations have already done nationally. But as coalition participants, we want to make 2018 a year of progress, in spite of the retreat on climate change at the national level. Connecticut has set ambitious goals for emissions reductions through the Governor's Climate Change Council, and carbon pricing can and should be part of that solution.